The last time we looked at this toothbrush on the channel, I never did end up properly reviewing it since my original was dead on arrival, and I've been meaning to talk about this tube of toothpaste that I received as a gift last year. So I figured that now's as good a time as any to close the loop on both of these topics with this decade's entry into the dental video category. Let's take a look.
I'll pick this up and check this out.
Never say that I didn't provide enough variety of coverage here on the channel. By the time this video is published, it'll probably be scheduled as my fourth quarter upload. So we started the year test driving a Cadillac CTS, but we'll finish it reviewing a tube of toothpaste. But not just any tube of toothpaste. The highly anticipated PerioBrite all-organic natural toothpaste. To be clear, I received this as a gift from a family member, so if you're watching, I want you to know that I strongly appreciate the gesture. Now, with that out of the way, here's the item. The packaging is nothing to write home about, but the container smells good enough. They're calling the flavor cinnamon, which I suppose is an accurate representation. If I place some onto the precision brush head of the OralB Professional Precision 3000 series toothbrush, you can see that it neither looks nor smells offensive. If I'm being straight with you all, however, this is without doubt the worst toothpaste I've ever used. For starters, it's a bit on the salty side. This doesn't really bother me that much, but folks who aren't much into salt might not be big fans. Where things really fall apart is with actually using it, because this stuff is super watered down. You have to use about twice as much of it just to get any kind of worthwhile cleaning, and even then, the feeling I'm left with is not that of freshness. It's as if I just got done brushing my teeth without toothpaste, with just water perhaps, and is actually quite underwhelming. What concerns me the most is that if I use this toothpaste too many times, it actually turns my toothbrush brown. Don't say that I don't make sacrifices for you, the viewers, because I put myself through the punishment of using this stuff again for an entire week just to show you, and here's the before and after. If it's turning my toothbrush brown, what the hell is it doing to my teeth? Because it certainly doesn't feel like it's cleaning them, at least not very well. And as if to add insult to injury, this stuff is exponentially more expensive than this basic Colgate toothpaste that I normally use, which I'm actually quite happy with, I might add, and has none of the dental health stuff that people who actually know what they're talking about usually recommend. Stuff like fluoride, baking soda, and peroxide. It's all absent, all of it. And I have to call bull on the whole natural brightening thing if it's treating my teeth anything like it's treating my toothbrush. And speaking of the toothbrush, it's time to resurrect a video that I uploaded back in January of 2014. It's hard to believe that it's been almost 7 years now since I originally took possession of this toothbrush, also as a gift. As you saw in the original video, my first impressions obviously weren't good, with the device being totally DOA. I didn't mention it during that narrative, but I also had to pay for shipping and handling on the return, at least one way if I remember correctly. Again, it has been almost 7 years. As you might have guessed based on its appearance earlier in today's video, it's now alive and well, so I suppose that it's needless to say that I did get a working toothbrush back, and it is holding up just fine all these years later. Overall, in direct contrast to the PerioBrite, which might just be the biggest toothpaste scam that I've ever seen, the Professional Precision 3000 series is the real deal. This is easily the best toothbrush I've ever used, by far, which means that it meets expectations, given its steep MSRP of $80. If I'm spending that kind of money on a toothbrush, it had better be the best toothbrush that I've ever used. And I hope that my viewers share the same kind of respect for their hard-earned money. At its peak, I got a maximum of about 9 days of use out of this toothbrush during an extended vacation week that I took back in 2017, when this machine was significantly younger, for a total of about 18 brushings. The low battery light came on somewhere around halfway through that trip. You can still brush your teeth with one of these things in the low battery condition, however, the motor is significantly weaker. Today, after almost 7 years of constant uninterrupted use, it needs to be recharged after almost every brushing, and the low battery light will come on within 3 to 4 brushings. I'd estimate that the battery has about a quarter of its original full charge capacity at this point. Speaking of the battery, here's a sample of the old battery that I removed from a different brush of the same model. It's slightly smaller than a standard and has attachment pins permanently fixed, so it is a specialized part. While our family did not end up replacing the battery in that case, I probably will end up replacing the battery on my own toothbrush now that I'm more comfortable with the procedure. Be warned, however, that it is not for the faint of heart. I failed to capture any pictures of the disassembly process, but this kind fellow has a pretty good rundown of it already uploaded to YouTube. As you can see, it does involve the breaking of watertight seals and also some soldering. I suppose that this is the cost of having a rechargeable battery-operated product that is designed to be able to hold up to running water, but it's still mildly concerning, as folks who would have to pay somebody else for this service will find that the cost would rapidly approach that of a replacement brush, seeing as how the price of a battery alone runs right around $20. Some folks have talked about hacking things up and modifying the brush to support a larger battery, but I don't see that as worth the investment of effort, personally. Of course, once it's repaired, then there's the prospect of putting it back together such that it doesn't lose much or any of its water resistance, because if the battery shorts out, it could spell bad news bears for the operator, accompanied by some despair and the obligatory manual brushing. Finally, there's the matter of upkeep. I have several family members who own or have owned this model of toothbrush over the years. Overall, they're very happy with theirs, but I've noticed that they just don't keep their toothbrushes clean. If you're not particularly careful about thoroughly cleaning and drying your toothbrush after every usage cycle, it does not take much for these things to become a yellow, hairy, and bacteria-ridden mess. For most folks using manual brushes, it's not something we really think about that much because the entire toothbrush is disposable and it just doesn't remain in our lives for more than a few months. One of these guys, on the other hand, as you've seen here, can last for years and years, so it demands a certain dedication to good dental hygiene. As for the brush heads, they're meant to be replaced after a period of around 3 months. I found that they typically start getting a little rough around the edges at between 6 and 10 weeks already, but they're usable for up to 3 to 5 months in total. That's the OEM brush heads though. Some folks think that they'll save money by going for aftermarket knockoffs, but usually end up regretting it and ultimately don't save any money in the process as a result. If you keep a close eye on eBay, packages of several years worth of brush heads can be found for not a lot of money, and those are what I usually buy. To close the loop on repairs and cleanliness, my brush still has accumulated a bit of bacteria where the bottom cover meets the edge of the device's casing, despite my best efforts. Most people's look a lot worse by this point though, so your mileage can and certainly will vary. Since I've never completed a battery replacement of my own before, I can't speak to how water resistant the toothbrush will be overall at the conclusion of the repair. I suppose that it could theoretically be sealed using JB Weld, although that would absolutely be the last time I could ever repair it because that stuff is a permanent seal and there's absolutely no going back after applying JB Weld to something, for obvious reasons. Still, if I got another 7 or 8 years out of it for doing so, an end result of a 15-year service life is, in my view, more than fair, even for the price. So that's not even a worst-case scenario. What it comes down to is this. The OralB Professional Precision 3000 Series toothbrush has most definitely stood the test of time and earns my seal of approval. The PerioBrite toothpaste, on the other hand, fails on almost every possible level and most decidedly earns my finger wag of disapproval. That's all for this year, and I certainly hope that you'll join me for the next one. I appreciate each and every one of you for your continued support of this channel over the course of the last decade. Thanks for watching. Anyone want to buy a used tube of toothpaste?